Hey everybody, welcome into Talking Tactics with Coach Goff. I am Coach Goff, and this is a show where I'd like to explain to you Dutch passing patterns. I've been talking a lot on the podcast lately about how I haven't seen the patterns of play that are typical from the Dutch system. Now, every coach has different patterns of play that they typically like to instill, but using patterns of play as a basis from which to generate an attack is a very typically Dutch thing to do, especially out of a 4-3-3. I'm going to show you how a coach might set up in training and instill those passing patterns, and then how that would translate into a game. So let's get this thing started. So what you're going to notice here is this is set up in a triangle, okay? So what I have shown here is probably a target player, so a center forward or an attacking mid, a wide player like a winger, and a midfielder. But you could also use center backs, and a target player from a center back would be probably a 6 or an 8, and then a wide player like a wing back or an outside back. So let's see how this translates into the field. So let's look at the most basic pattern of play. Everything is going to start with a pass into a target player, then back out to a midfielder, and then push the ball wide in some way. So we're just going to call that in, out, wide. That's the basis for our setup. So let's see what happens here. The ball goes into a target player, back out to a midfielder, and then wide to a winger. So the thing here is, and the thing to keep an eye on is, number one, your target player has to make his run in a way that puts the defender on his hip. So therefore the defender cannot step to the ball. Now I have the player who gives the ball getting it back here. This could also be two different players. It could be a player here, a number 6, who passes the ball in, and then the ball goes out to a number 8. But the point is you're starting to create that in-out muscle memory. Now the timing is such that as the ball is going into the target player, this player is already making that run wide. The reason for that is he's going to see what this defender does. So the ball goes in, it comes back out to a midfielder. If this defender has closed here, we're going to start making a run in behind, and we're going to try to exploit the space in between the center back and the outside back with a nice through ball in behind. So let's get into the second pattern here. We're going to get the same in-out action, but this time the forward is going to make a nice curling run and be the recipient of the pass back. So let's see it all the way through first. So we check the ball, put the defender on your hip, in, out, curling run, ball goes wide, and then is played in behind the forward. So what you would do in this case is emphasize that nice check, the timing of stretching wide to be an option, and this time the in-out wide doesn't get us in behind, but what we do is we get in behind with the forward making this run. So the forward would see that this player ends up getting the ball to his feet instead of in behind and makes that curling run instead. So let's have a look at the third pattern. Start again with the in-out, wide, but this time as the forward turns to make his run in behind, he realizes that the ball has been played to the winger's feet and decides to check his run up and be an option. So the forward checks, puts a defender on his hip, into the target player, out to the midfielder, wide. This time the target player checks up and plays a nice little 1-2 with the wide player. So again, we're going to make these decisions based on what the players on the field are doing in game, and we're going to emphasize that to our players in practice. Let's take a look and see what that looks like. First, in a full training session, this is how it would go. So in a training session, a coach might set up a mirrored triangle on the opposite side of the field and have players waiting at the blue cones because everything's going to start from the blue cone. And then let's say you're running the pattern where you go in, out, and play the winger through. Then what that winger would do is go ahead and cut the ball and dribble to the next cone and then wait in line for the next session to start. That way, everything operates in a big circle, and you can continue to run each of these patterns for 10 minutes at a time, spend about 30 minutes going through each set of 3, or create your own patterns and kind of whatever you want your players to do, but it's all about developing that muscle memory. So let's look at an in-game tactical setup. The players we're working with here are our player on the ball, who happens in this case to be a midfielder, our target player, who happens to be the center forward, and our wide player, who happens to be a winger. The space that we have to check into is here. So what we're going to see is the target player is going to go ahead and check in and receive the ball, and we're going to see this defender turns to chase the ball, which provides us for our in-out opportunity. And we've seen that the winger has come wide here, and the defender, really important, has come with him. So then when we go in and out, the defender is caught, and that backdoor pass allows the wide player to get in behind. So let's see one more time. We see the defender is stepped with the winger out, and we see here the key moment as the ball is coming out. This defender has vision down the field and sees that we've gotten in behind and is going to slot that pass immediately in behind through this gap that we've created by making our dynamic runs. Another really good key to this play is that because the target player has checked and drawn a center back with him, that allows him to get in behind here, hopefully for a cross. So let's look at the second pattern. So for the second pattern here, I want to emphasize it starts with the same setup, and we're still going to get that initial in-out wide. This time, the in-out, what we've seen here is that this defender has not followed the winger, so he does not have room to make this run in behind. So what we're going to get is as that ball goes in and white, in and out, this winger is actually going to come even shallower to receive the ball at his feet, which is going to open up this gap for this center forward to make a run into. So again, it's all about what these players do. And when we see, for this instance, I've dramatized it by having this center back not follow the forward at all. Most of the time, this center forward will follow, but maybe a bit late. So maybe you see him right in this area. But he also might try to pass the runner off to this fullback, who then will have to retreat, giving this player the chance to dribble. So again, however the passing pattern is supposed to work, you have to have that muscle memory to read the cues of the defense. So let's see it one more time. We have into the target player, out to the initial passer, play it wide, and then we play it in behind. So on to the third pattern of play, and what I want to emphasize here is we have the same in-out wide, only this time our winger sees that he's not going to get in behind and check short, and our target player moves to play a 1-2 with the wide player. So let's see it one more time here. We have the ball goes in and back out. This time, see right here, the winger is going to start to make that run in behind, recognize it's not on, and reverse his run to be a target player. This forward, instead of making this run, is going to see that this defender is tightened up enough to provide a really good option for 1-2. In, out, the defender gets tight, plays a little 1-2. And we're in behind. And again, we've created gaps here for other players on the field to run into. The thing to remember here is these patterns that I'm outlining are just options. For me, I'm showing a simple option of having your target player be in the center, be it a center forward or an attacking mid or a holding mid. But your target player could actually be a wide player. And maybe the pattern is the ball goes into a wide player, out to another player that's wide, be it a midfielder pulled wide or an outside back, and then into a central player making that curling run, right? It could be into a wide player, back out to the midfielder, and then look for an overlap with that original target player that was wide to begin with. But the point is you have to continue to create the muscle memory and training so that you start to see it in matches. I haven't seen it a lot yet from FC Cincinnati. I don't know what Stom's true philosophy is. Is he going to play with a target player? Does he want his targets to be wide? If he's playing with a false 9, then clearly that's something entirely different. I'll be sure to update on the podcast as soon as I start to see some of these patterns start to emerge, and I think that we probably will. If you're not already subscribed to the podcast, make sure you get on over to the podcast catcher of your choice and search for Talking Tactics with Coach Goff. That's where you'll find my show. Make sure you also subscribe to March to Match Day and the main show on Monday night for Cincinnati Soccer Talk. If you have any comments or questions, you can get at me on Twitter or Instagram at FC Cincy Tac Talk, or just hit me up below the line in the comment section here. Make sure you subscribe to these YouTube videos and let me know if there's any other videos you want to see. And until then, whether it's bubblegum, shoestrings, or duct tape, get it together and keep going.